They say the truth sets you free, but sometimes it puts a target on your back. After confronting his mother, Denise Langston, Darius knew things had changed. This wasn't just a family disagreement. This was a war for control of a billion-dollar empire, and he had just fired the first shot. But Denise? She didn't scream. She didn't threaten. She simply smiled and made a phone call. No words, just silence. And Darius felt it. The shift, the message. She was done playing nice. The next day, Darius arrived at work to find his keycard revoked. Security stood by the elevator like statues. No nods, no greetings, just silence. Then Jordan Reese, the IT director, and the only person he still trusted, slipped him a phone number scribbled on the back of a meeting agenda. One name, one number, no explanation. When he called it, a voice answered instantly. "You should have stayed quiet, but now that you're in it, meet me at the Langston Foundation's old building. Midnight. Come alone." Darius didn't sleep that night. He didn't eat. He just paced. And when midnight came, he went. The building was abandoned, gutted, cold. But someone had been there recently. Footprints in the dust, a lantern left on, and files, stacks of them on a long metal table. Inside those folders were black budget memos, private security contracts, bank statements linked to offshore accounts. But that wasn't the worst part. At the very bottom was a picture of Darius. Next to it, a red X. And the words, "Contain if exposed." This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about silencing bloodlines. Suddenly, footsteps, fast, heavy. Darius spun around. A figure stepped into the light, but it wasn't a stranger. It was Mark Ellison, alive, unshackled, furious. "I told you, kid. You weren't ready for this game. You thought getting me fired was the win? That wasn't a fall. That was a trade." Darius clenched his fists. "You were part of it all." Mark smirked. "Number I was it. Until your mother decided I wasn't useful anymore. But guess what? You just made her desperate. And desperate people make mistakes." Darius stared him down. "So what now?" Mark stepped closer. "Now, we talk. Because you're not the only one who wants to take Denise Langston down." And right then, Darius realized, the enemy of your enemy might still be your enemy, but he also might be the only shot you've got. When Mark Ellison stepped out of the shadows, Darius knew he was in deep. This was the man who once denied him every opportunity, now offering an alliance. But Darius had learned something powerful. Sometimes your greatest enemy isn't the one who hates you. It's the one who understands you. And Mark? He understood Denise Langston better than anyone. "We both know what she's capable of," Mark said. "But she made a mistake. She underestimated you." Over the next week, Darius and Mark, an unlikely duo, began to piece together years of buried evidence. Off-book transactions, strategic firings, donations masking bribes. But most damning of all, a hidden trust in Darius's name activated only if he never returned to the company. In other words, his silence had a price, and someone expected him not to survive long enough to spend it. Meanwhile, Denise moved quickly. Board meetings were canceled. The audit Darius launched was quietly shut down. Key allies were reassigned. Others simply disappeared. On the surface, Maybridge Financial was stable. But inside, it was rotting. So Darius did the unthinkable. He went public and he called an emergency shareholders assembly. He leaked select financial documents to a national investigative journalist. And in the middle of it all, he walked into the boardroom with cameras rolling. The room fell silent. Denise sat at the head of the table, poised in cream silk and gold, every inch the queen she believed herself to be. "This is private," she snapped. But Darius didn't stop. "Not anymore." He pulled out the documents, every lie, every cover-up, every silenced voice, and laid them bare. And when Denise stood up, ready to cut him off, Jordan Reese walked in, with receipts, digital logs, emails, voice memos, everything Denise had scrubbed from the company servers. You see, Jordan had never been loyal to Maybridge. She was loyal to the truth, and together, they shattered the myth of the Langston Empire. By the end of the meeting, half the board had resigned. Federal regulators were waiting in the lobby, and Denise, she was escorted out, in silence, just like Mark had been. But this time, no one looked away. Days later, the headlines were everywhere. Black Air exposes billion-dollar scandal inside Maybridge Financial. Darius Langston Green, from intern to whistleblower. But Darius didn't gloat. He didn't celebrate. He simply got back to work, because this was never about revenge. It was about repair. He reinstated every wrongfully terminated employee, doubled down on equity reforms, and restructured the leadership so no one could abuse their power again. The empire his mother built with secrets, he rebuilt it with truth. And when reporters asked him why he never used his name to get ahead, he said, "I didn't want a shortcut. I wanted a legacy." Final message. Sometimes being underestimated is your greatest weapon. Sometimes the system doesn't change until you break it wide open. And sometimes justice takes time. But when it comes, it speaks louder than any title ever could. If our story interests you, then follow for more.